What is YouTube, back again with another video, and today's video we're going to be talking about episode 3 of how to become a COD pro. And yeah, man, we're going to be talking about map control and the best strategies for controlling the map and that kind of thing. We're going to be doing this map on Keratin just because I think Keratin is overall just one of the more simpler maps to understand and to teach people on. And this same strategy can be taught pretty much for any map. I just picked Keratin because it's, again, a very easy, simple map to control. And yeah, I find myself playing Winter Keratin a lot online, so it just makes sense. So, again, this is map control. And we're going to be seeing kind of the strategies I use when I'm playing a game that are kind of just in the back of my head that I find that helps me a lot. So the best strategy for map control is to understand the map itself and how it works, right? So these maps will spawn you usually a minimum to 1 to 3 places. Usually 3, maybe more times is kind of uncommon. A lot of times maps like to stick with 2 spawns. So as you can see, so this is a spawn back here. This tank is a spawn. All of this is a spawn. Alright? So you can kind of see if this is the same map from Winter Keratin, by the way, for reference. It's the same map that you guys are playing if you're not using Season Pass, right? So you got your MG, you got the little house people camp with the MG. So these are all the same style map. So usually you'll see people spawn behind the tank. Usually tank spawns usually one of the first spawns you'll get. It's usually, like, again, start off spawn, kind of like how this side has that back corner as their first spawn. Things like domination, TDM, everything else. Now, during the match, things can change with players being throughout. So there's an algorithm that likes to basically not want to spawn you anywhere near a player. Well, at least attempts to, anyway. It does not like to. And this is kind of back here is the spawn I was talking about originally. So this is the only spawn on this map, and some maps have it, some maps don't. You just have to figure out which ones do and which ones don't. Where, depending on the match, depends on where they'll spawn you for C-Flag. So if you're just playing Domination, it usually likes to spawn you right here, but it can spawn you right there. A lot of times for a Horde Point, for example, I know sometimes it likes to spawn you in that corner. So there's that too, right? And then back here's a corner. And I think there's one more spawn. I think you can spawn you like in this back corner. I think there's on this building. But yeah, like I was saying, every map has an algorithm, right? So the game was designed to basically say, I don't want to spawn you near bullets, and I don't want to spawn you near explosions, and I don't want to spawn you near players, right? Because the idea is they don't want you to feel spawn trap, which is what happens oftentimes in like Shipment and Rustin House, and sometimes it's map. So the game tries to find a sweet spot, so to allow you to get out of your spawn. Now, does that happen all the time? No, obviously not. Right, the game sometimes fucks up, and that's often what happens. Things on maps like Nuketown, for example. People often think that Nuketown is a bad map, and the only reason people think that is because the map often bugs out and doesn't allow it to like spawn you where it wants to, right? Because like Nuketown, for example, has 3 spawns: the back houses and then the middle of the map can spawn you. And this is kind of the same thing. So like, if you're playing this map, right, and you have someone sitting over this window right here, and they got their spawn locked down, right, and you got someone watching this back spawn, the game won't know where to spawn you. So what it will do is it'll sometimes spawn you in that corner, sometimes it'll spawn you in this corner, and sometimes in this corner. But one place it will never spawn you will be here, this area. There's just not a spawn for this game, for the center of this map, right? I've seen sometimes randomly it'll spawn people like right here. Sometimes I've seen people spawn like in that spot back here. I'll go over here and show you guys. Right there, it'll spawn some people there. That's just sometimes, right? That doesn't happen very often, but sometimes you'll find a random dude just spawn there, right? And that's because the game is trying to find a spot that is considered safe, right? And usually a safe spot is about 5 to 10 meters around you. So for reference, if I'm standing right here, it's going to make sure that this entire area that I'm aiming at is completely safe, right? So if I'm standing right here looking at you, you're not going to spawn in. Well, that's the goal anyway. That's the goal of the game, is what it's trying to attempt to do. And obviously the game doesn't always do that, right? Obviously the game struggles to do that oftentimes. And that's kind of what you want to exploit, right? Because you want to exploit the fact that the game's not perfect, right? The algorithm isn't perfect. And that's what you kind of want to attempt, right, to exploit. So now that we understand that there's an algorithm that is trying to save you from being spawn trapped, now that we know this, now we can kind of better predict matches kind of off that idea. So I'm gonna say probably the first thing you want to know is understanding what part of the maps you want to control and what part of the maps you do not want to control. So for example, if you're playing Shipment, do you want to control A side? You want to control both those cars. I mean, if you don't control both those cars, your game's pretty much over, right? You're not gonna have fun playing the map. I don't care what anyone says, you're not having fun, right? Because I mean, when you're obviously going to have more fun the more positive you're going. I don't think of anyone who truly goes negative that truly enjoys it. Like, I think even the people that don't really care about going positive, if they go positive, they would enjoy the game a lot more than they do. Okay. So understanding this, right? Understanding that you wanna go positive, you can kind of break down the map into chunks. So most maps in this game are the last of its kind, being 3-lane maps. A lot of CODs these days don't have 3-lane maps. This is the last COD that truly have an 80 to 90% 3-lane map average. Your 3 lanes on this map are pretty simple. I mean, there's more like 6 lanes depending on the angle you're looking. So like this would be a lane, right? See how you can see all the way down. Usually lanes are pretty obvious for seeing across the map, so I can see all the way to that side of the building, right? And I can come over here, and I can look over here, and I can see all the way over there, right? Then I can come over here, and I can see down to the center of the map. Over here, I can see to the end of the road, which is across the map. And you can do the exact same thing looking this way from over there, right? You can see across the map, either from that window, you can see all the way over there to the end of that building. So there's a lot of lanes, but predominantly, they are 3-lane maps, right? So 3 lanes are going to be more focused on spawning you at one side, spawning the other group the other side, and allowing you guys to meet in the middle and fight it out, right? That's the idea. But that's more of a basic TDM style. Domination's a little differently, because the game wants you to fight over B, but it also wants you to fight over A and C. So it'll allow more area usage, and allow more firefights will happen on the A and C spawns, because predominantly those are your spawn points, and if you're playing against good players, they want to control your spawn at the most top of the line reasons, right? Because if you control someone's spawn, they're not going to be able to get out of their spawn, right? Which means you can take B relatively with ease. So once you understand the 3 lanes, so for example, once you understand the Shipment's going to play in 3 different ways, right? 3 different lanes, right? You have from car on A side to C flag, car to C flag spawn, which is on the opposite side, and then a lane down the middle, right? So understanding those 3 lanes will now change the entire way you're looking at the game, because now you know, okay, majority of the time people are going on the right lane. They're going to be going from C flag spawn to A car, right? To A flag. And when they die at C spawn, they're going to spawn at C flag, right? Going to A car. See what I'm doing? I'm breaking it down into chunks. I'm learning the way the map flows back and forth, right? Because the idea is you don't want to force the game to spawn them randomly, because that can happen. On Shipment, it happens more frequently if you have a bad team that doesn't know how to play the map, right? I'm sure you guys have seen it on my Twitch when I'm live, or just seen it on your own watching other players, right? Where all of a sudden random dudes will spawn behind you, and they'll spawn behind you, and they'll spawn in front of you, and above you, or whatever may be the case, right? They'll spawn randomly. That's because the algorithm at that point had broken, right? The algorithm didn't understand quite what was happening. and so it just starts spitting you out randomly. So the idea is to understand the lanes and how far to go with them. So for example, I know some people can spawn here, this whole area back here, that from that pile to that tree back is a spawn, right? And I know people are coming from that spawn and they're gonna come out this way, right? Spawns will flip in kind of a weird way, so it goes by a line. There's a thin line in the game that you can't physically see with your eyes, but is there. It's existent, right? So, for example, they're spawning here. You can go as far up to here to shoot them before the spawn will flip. Now, as long as there's enemies there, this spawn will never flip. Now, you cross this line, or you're at this line, and you kill everybody in that spawn, the game will now shoot them across the map and spawn them over there. And what happens most times is teammates aren't in your own spawn, so if you're a really good player, most of your teammates are out of their spawn over here fighting, right? Which now means this spawn is completely open. So now you can go over here. Now the enemies are spawning over here. Now how do we not flip the spawns over here? Well, this spawn's relatively decent. I like this, holding this spawn down for games that I'm trying to get high kills or fast nuclears, because you can hold this spawn down relatively with relative ease, and it really won't flip that often, right? So you can hold them kind of right here, and right here's a sweet spot because you're far enough away from that initial spawn point. As long as there's enemies back there, or your teammates are all the way in that spawn over there, it shouldn't flip it. It shouldn't. It may, but it shouldn't, right? And then another spot is right here. This is a spot I know a lot of people like to camp because you're kind of protected. These aren't shootable through. This as well is pretty defensive, so you can kind of peek around here and pop up and peek around there. And you can come over here and you can kind of chill. I don't really like this spot because you kind of, if you need to pull back or anything, you're kind of in a bad spot to pull back, right? If I run away, now I'm out in the open, see? So those are kind of the sweet spots where you can kind of sit. Another good spot for over here, for example, is on this roof. And a lot of people like to sit behind this barrel right here, these boxes. It's a good little spot you can kind of peek through. And this is kind of how you want to play the map, right? Learning the map and learning what angles are the best, what angles won't flip spawns as quickly, because you don't want to flip spawns every 10 seconds. I know a lot of people think flipping spawns is the strat. It's not, right? Because the more and more you flip spawns, the harder it is to keep track of where people are. Okay. My favorite strategy for map control is usually a team of two. Usually if you can get a team of two, so you and a buddy, and you both learn the map, so you have a guy looking at this spawn and a guy looking at that spawn, you can keep track of who's coming where with relative ease. If not, honestly, you can make yourself pretty overpowered with that strategy. Learning the map takes a lot of time, right? Learning maps is not an easy talent, it's not an easy skill to learn, right? Because it takes a lot of patience and a lot of custom games. I've spent a lot of custom games and a lot of online games learning this map the hard way, learning by dying, losing streaks, that type of stuff, right? I know camo challenges helped a lot because I was going for specific things, and in certain angles help with those specific challenges like headshots or long shots, whatever it may be. And with that being said, that is pretty much the most bare minimum I can get with this. I mean, there's a lot of small details, like small hidden areas you can get to, like small angles. You can kind of crouch right here, and it's super hard to see someone's head until they pop up. There's certain spots you can shoot through, like can't shoot through this, but you can shoot through, like right here you can shoot through. You can't shoot through this on this side, like you can't shoot through like this, but you can shoot through like this. And it's just the little things, right? It's the little things. But honestly, this video will be like 3 hours long, right? And there's different small things, and I encourage y'all to find them. But the bare minimum of learning how to map control is learning that there's 3 play styles, there's 3 lanes, right? Controlling those 3 lanes, making them your friend. Understanding the different windows in those lanes, learning everything about those lanes will change everything. I mean, I've seen players go from averaging 10 kills a game to averaging 30 by just paying attention to those lanes, right? Learning what those lanes mean, how to control them, how not to lose them, and how to lose them, and learning spawns and understand how the spawns work, not flipping them and flipping them, right? And that's pretty much the gist of it. I'm trying to keep these videos kind of short, but to the point. So I hope you guys are enjoying that. Because I hate when I go to YouTube videos and they just kind of ramble on about 30 minutes about how you should aim, right? Because that's obviously not important at this point in time in this series, right? With that being said, guys, I'm going to end the video there. Sorry for the late upload. This has been like 5 days since I uploaded. Going through some family stuff I have to deal with. And I'll have a video out explaining everything here soon. And yeah, man, expect some more videos in the future. And until next one, it's been your boy. I'm out of here. Peace.